CMPRadio.net. It's the station.
CMPRadio.net. It's the station. Listen, man, let's cultivate together. Bring us all your show ideas. Content creators, we're looking for that. Videographers, we're looking for that. You can be a part of the next great big thing that takes place right here in Chester, Pennsylvania. Let's cultivate together, man.
What's going on, everybody, man? It's Uncle P, man, the CMPRadio.net. You know, we are live from the Cultivating Mature Positivity Studios. I dropped my glasses down a little bit, right, because it's a little bright in here. I can't really see. But I have two extremely important guests in the building. They are a part of a film that was filmed by Philly Cam up in Philly, man. If you don't know where Philly Cam is, check them out, man. We're going to get all the information. This film that was filmed is based on our children here in the Chester Upland School District, and the resources and the programs that are given, and then the things that are not capable of being given because there's not enough money. But I'm not going to tell you about everything. I'm going to let them tell you about everything. And I have in here with me today Miss Cogdell. Nicole Cogdell, who is an advocate for children with special needs, and Stephanie Ramones, right? And she is the director of Divided Attention. And we're just going to sit here and we're going to talk about everything that's going on, everything that happened in the film, how it felt, and what they feel like, because they are debuting the film this Saturday at 1 o'clock. At 2 o'clock. So it's a 1 o'clock reception and then a 2 o'clock screening. It'll be at Chester High School, correct?
Correct.
And, Chester Children Matter. So if you believe that your children are not receiving the proper whatever from Chester, the proper support, the proper encouragement, the proper motivation after high school, because, listen, our children aren't grown just because they graduated high school. They still need our support as parents, as family members, as community members. Feel me? So we have to continue to support our kids even after they graduate from high school. But what do you feel like is not being given? You can come out, you can talk about these things. And like I said, everything starts with communication. If you're able to communicate properly, things happen that are supposed to happen. How you feeling, ladies? What's going on?
Doing great.
I'm just doing amazing, P.
You know, I love it when you're in the building, Miss Cogdell. You know, you are an avid supporter of CMPRadio.net. So I just want to give you your flowers right there and say thank you. I appreciate you. And, whatever you need, I'm there. I got your back.
Thank you, P, and vice versa.
No doubt, no doubt, no doubt. Stephanie, this is the first time we met each other. You came in here and you were when they were filming and you were interviewing. So I want to know, like, okay, what is the reason for this documentary?
Gotcha. So first person that brought the film to Philly Chem was Miss Nicole Cogdell here. So that's how everything kind of started to get it going. But the biggest thing we wanted to cover at first was the mindfulness program that was over at Tobey Farms.
Okay.
And then once we got in there, we realized a few things were happening. One, just how severely underfunded Chester, PA, and that's not only currently, but historically, and you can see that throughout. So like, for example, Tobey Farms was meant to be an elementary school. It's built like an elementary school, not built for the students in there now. And then additionally, we found out how they were trying to charterize it. They were trying to turn pretty much the whole school district into over to private hands. And we all know what happens when things start getting privatized that are meant to be public and have public voices. So that's another big issue that started coming up, and we just started seeing how this is a cycle, a repeated cycle of that specifically not only targets Chester. Chester is kind of the canary in the coal mine, the first one that started getting that, trying to privatize the whole school district, but throughout the country. And just specifically black and brown students are almost always the ones targeted. You don't see this happening in rich white districts.
No, because they have the money.
They have the money. They have the parents that have time to go advocate and just speak up before it happens. And they have public schools that look like private schools sometimes where they just get a ton of funding just because of the region they're in, because everything's based off local property taxes. So if you have a place that doesn't have high value property homes, they're not getting the same amount of money, and the state's not doing much to make up for that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So while you're filming this, you said you first went in to speak with the lady. What's the lady's name?
Stacey Mandel. So she's the instructor at Tobey Farms. She teaches a mindfulness program, which is pretty much giving students a chance to take a breath, take a moment to be able. And they need it.
They need it.
Yeah, there's so much going on, especially nowadays. There's so much going on, and there's very little opportunities for students to be checked in with. Because even if they're not necessarily picking up the mindfulness stuff, there's an adult just giving them a moment to, hey, tell me what's going on. Because since there's so much severe underfunding, the teachers there don't have time. They have to cover things for a state test. They got to make sure things are happening, things are moving.
Absolutely.
So they have to rely on some more punitive practice, or just because they don't have time.
Yes. I mean, I feel like it's important to check in with the kids, right? To talk to them, to check their temperature, right? To see what's on their mind, and literally when I say we fight so much in this community, right? This is right, this is wrong, and the children see that, and they just think, oh, we're supposed to fight. We're supposed to have disagreements. We're supposed to not get along with somebody. You feel me? Oh, he's from over there. I'm from over here. I don't like him. That's the only reason why you don't like him? Like, why don't y'all talk and find out that y'all have more in common than y'all have to fight over, right? And that's why this radio station is here. You feel me? And now that I'm able to get out there into the community and do different things, that's what I'm trying to do. Right. So when you go in there and you speak with Stacey and she has this mindfulness program, what else did you observe about the children that were in there?
So one of the biggest things I observed is that the children see a lot more than I think all of us adults realize.
Right. They do.
And they absorb a lot more.
They do.
And the biggest thing that I think in this day and age they're not learning necessarily from media or from schools that mindfulness gives them a chance to is you need to check in with yourself too. You need to take a moment, just learn how to, hey, I'm feeling a lot of emotions. Whatever I'm going to do right now is going to be a big reaction because it's a lot of emotions. And I think that's the biggest thing I observe with students, and that they want it. They may at first kind of like, oh, that's not cool. Like, that's a mindful, I don't know what that's about. And adults do this too. But the minute you give them a chance and they kind of start buying in, they love it. They love it. And it's such a low cost, easy way to do it. And it's things other people in the community are doing different ways as well. I want to make it clear, the biggest thing I try to advocate for in this film is to make sure it doesn't look like, okay, there's this outside program coming in to fix poor little old Chester. We hear that expression a lot where people say that, but it's also people taking them into their own hands and saying, hey, this is an easy thing to teach, just take a breath. I don't know about you, when I was growing up, I definitely heard from a couple people, just take a breath.
Just take a breath. Breathe.
This just is a formal way of teaching it in a way that's a little more, I don't want to say elegant, but just a little more precise way of being like, here's a meditation, just listen to it. Absorb what you can.
Whether it's 4 or 5 minutes, it's time for you to reflect on you And we don't get a lot of that time because I tell my daughter all the time, if you don't take time to understand who you are and what you're dealing with in life, you're going to become an adult that's frustrated and mad. Literally, I had this when I first started the station. I used to talk about this neighbor, and we used to hit our balls in his yard all the time, right? And he would never want to give us our balls back. You feel me? And everybody tried to figure out why would we go knock on the door, get off my property? Why was he so angry and upset? And then I talked to another neighbor and said, well, he's frustrated, right? He's been frustrated since he was a kid. He's always been mad, but his mom and dad died and things happened to him. So literally I went to my mom and I asked her, bake me some cookies. You feel me? I said, bake me some cookies. I want to take it to the next door neighbor. You feel me? And introduce myself. Went over there, gave him the cookies. The smile on this man's face to the fact where he said, we had over 50 balls in his yard, bro. He hit them. Oh, they was just going over there because we were hitting them over there. He would never give them back, and we would always go get more. But at that age, and I had to look back and say, wow, like even at that age, I was trying to give someone something that he wasn't giving me. He was giving me anger and hostility, and I'm like, Mom, make him some chocolate chip cookies. I'm going to take them over to him. Took him over, got our 50 balls. Now everybody like, oh, now you cool with the old man? They used to, yes, I am cool with him. And now he just unlocked his yard. And if you hit the ball over, you can come over. But it was that give, you feel me, that he never received, that someone knocking on his door, checking on him, you feel me, talking to him. And I was cool with him until he died, literally, right? And when he died alone.
But you extended the olive branch,
Absolutely.
P. You know,
Absolutely.
This particular project is definitely near and dear to my heart.
Right.
One, because it is Chester,
Yes.
you know, a city that I have come to, I just love, sometimes even people who may not necessarily love me, right? But anybody that knows me knows that I am an advocate for children. And big shout out to Tobey Farms. Like Tobey is my family, where Principal Popley and Miss Islam and Ikea Campbell, Damon Hall, and, you know, Calvin Butcher, Miss Moomaw, Mr. Foreman, you know, Miss Ebersol when she was there, Miss McLucky, like they were our family. We didn't have anybody sometimes but each other, right? And then, you know, having a mentor like the infamous Jean Arnold. Big shout out to Miss Arnold, because Miss Arnold showed up many times, right?
Every time.
When other people didn't. And Miss Arnold doesn't have a child biologically in the Chester Upland School District, but often in the morning she would say, Nikki, because we talk every morning pretty much between 6 and 7 o'clock, Nikki, know your why. Right. Big shout out to the Carol Kazims that's in the film. Uncle P, that definitely needed to be in the film. Christy Bars, who worked in the Camelot program, and Jonathan King, who was working, you know, in charter education. Miss Ebersol. Like Chester came together. Advocates came together because we said that our children matter. We're not fighting with Nafis, the receiver, or fighting with the superintendent, right? Because they are coming into this, and Deneen Mosley too. Sorry, Deneen. Big shout out to Deneen Mosley as well, right? They are entering this school district in a deficit, so they're already behind the ball.
So
definitely
doesn't do anything.
Right. So saying, you know, the receiver is wrong and the superintendent is wrong. No, if the Chester Upland School District has been under receivership for years, right, then that puts us in a different category, which means that we have a need and our children have a need that is greater than most school districts. And then when you look at our special education population, then what about the contingency funding? Because a lot of our kids and their IEPs call for more in terms of contingency funding. What about assisting our special education director in adding another person so that we can apply for medical assistance funding? Because that within itself is a job. No longer will the advocates in the Chester Upland School District continue to be gaslit and carpetbagged. We want resources for our children. We want mindfulness. We want to be able to address the technology divide that you saw when COVID took place. You cannot, we want the appropriate testing so that our psychologists can do what they need. We want an effective MTSS process where the occupational therapist, speech and language pathologist, psychologist, and the teaching staff, a lot of our teachers can't even attend meetings because they have to decide whether or not they can attend an IEP meeting or teach in that classroom. No longer is the advocates in the Chester Upland School District going to accept that.
And those are the big things. Yeah. And those are all the big things that cause change.
Right.
Everyone thinks like, oh, we got to put more cops in the school. We got to make sure we're regulating these people and these children and everything. That's not the answer.
It's not.
And that's what we're trying to say in the film.
Right.
It's so easy to just stick to that school to prison pipeline. It's easier to send the student out the room. And again, it goes back to, it's nothing against the teachers. It's nothing against administrators. It's not them. It's the system is setting them up to fail.
Right.
And we have to address the system. I just have to read something because one of my advocates, one of my team members, Ms. Denise Mosley, yes, it is important for people to see the reality, but also listen to the progress. Be willing to lend their strength and advocate for equal funding. Right. Because, I mean, P, even with, the superintendent and Nafis just did a partnership with the Widener Partnership School, right? We want our children to come back into the district, but it is also a reality that they can decide to go to another charter school. Yep. At the end of the day, parents have a right to select where they want to send their children. Absolutely. The only thing that we are saying is we want it to be equitable so that we can be in a position to compete with some of these other schools. Not just, just because you go into a fancy building does not mean that your children aren't experiencing regression, because it takes a long time for some of the kids to recoup different information, decoding skills, not being able to break words down and then put it together. We have a reading divide with it, and we need to go ahead and just say it. We need reading specialists as well. And I'm not just talking about just picking somebody up from the street. I'm talking about programs like the Wilson Reading Method. I'm talking about the Lyndon Mood Bell Method. I'm even talking to Delaware County Intermediate Unit, because they have an assistive technology person. But unfortunately, a lot of times Chester gets the old equipment. We don't get the new equipment. We're not going through the SET process, the student environment, technology, and team. It's a framework, and we want it used.
So how are they giving old equipment for new students?
Because a lot of times with the SET process, a lot of our children are not being set. If you look at the front page of the IEP, does the student require assistive technology and augmentative assistive technology? And a lot of times we are under the myth that if our children cannot articulate, if they are verbal, then automatically that's a no. And that is totally false. Assistive technology can be used in terms of using a educational divide. For an example, if a child has attention deficit hyperactive disorder, and their baseline is sitting in their seat maybe for 10 minutes, and then you have to use kinesiology, which is movement, right? Basically, let them sit in that desk for 10 minutes and then maybe walk around for 2 minutes, and maybe you can put them on a computer for the other 15 minutes. Right. You have to look at different baselines. So in terms of assistive technology, that is a student by student basis specifically for children who have IEPs. But too few of our children are even being tested for the SET process. And let's not even talk about our gifted program. Our gifted program also is for students who they are GIEPs. So we need a more formal GIEP and gifted program. Again, it's so many different issues. And again, our receiver and our superintendent has made great progress, but we just don't want to be talked at. We want to be spoken to.
Right. Mm-hmm. I agree with you 150,000%, right? This is these are the problems that we face in this community, right? Mostly everything is coming from a broken system. So if we have people in place that understand it, why are these people not hired to do the job?
A lot of times, especially strong advocates, they're the last people that you want in the room. And even with working for the Chester
Who says they're the last people you want in the room?
The people in power.
The people in power. Okay. I mean, I'm serious.
I mean, but sometimes the people in power aren't even qualified to do anything, that they don't know the things that
I totally agree.
The advocates know.
No, I totally agree.
So when you don't know, you should sit down and shut up and let me do it for you.
I agree. And even Deneen Mosley, here's another message. Yes, there is very little transparency in how children at some charter schools are performing academically. Absolutely. Because I've advocated for a lot of children who basically the hearing officer requested compensatory education. And they were children who attended the charter school in which the district paid for their specific education. And then it was deemed that they were not being afforded a free and an appropriate public education. Again, I believe that parents should be afforded the opportunity to select whatever school they want to send their children to. Only thing that I am asking is for the playing field to be equitable. What you require from the Chester Upland School District, you should require from the charter schools. If special education funding, hypothetically, I'm not saying the exact number, so don't quote me. If you are spending $9,000 or $4,000 for a child in the Chester Upland School District to receive a free and appropriate public education, then you should not be spending $20,000 in a charter school. That is private school funding. So our children are not, a lot of them are not receiving a private school education. But if you want to talk about equity, whatever amount is being spent, it should be spent across the board.
Right. So if they're giving the charter school $20,000, then the school district should be getting $20,000.
Correct.
I mean, I agree with that. There's no need in knocking them down.
Yeah.
Right.
Know what I mean? So there's somebody that's not doing the funding correctly, right?
And that's the problem.
Okay. All right.
And that's the problem, because then what happens is you're getting $20,000 per special education child, and it's taken from a lot of the children that are in the district. If you want to have equity, have equity. Chester Upland has always been competitive. Look at the football team, look at the basketball team. Chester will show up. I don't even want to hear that they won't, but make it equitable. And if we are going to be, the underdog, as Carol Kazim often says, don't count us out. That's why we need for every person in the community, like it shouldn't be an empty seat in Chester High School on Saturday, because we've showed up. A lot of people didn't even know that we were doing a documentary, because a lot of the work that I do, I try to, people think that I'm not behind the scenes in a lot of things, but in all actuality,
you are behind the scenes.
I am behind the scenes. And trust me, even with this project, Nicole Mendez heard my mouth. Right. Stacy Mandel heard my mouth. Right. The young lady sitting right next to me heard my mouth, because I'm like, no, even I'm going to hold every single person accountable when it comes, because they're my kids. Right. When you look at the newspaper, like on Saturday, 2 of them young men, they were my kids. Right. I'm tired of seeing my kids in prison for homicides or victims, because of the fact that we need to make sure that they receive an education and that social and emotional learning is serious, that mindfulness is serious, that they're receiving social skills intervention. Right. Big shout outs to Brian Warren when he had the Camelot program over at Tobey Farms. Right. He was doing an excellent job, that they're getting psychiatrists and psychologists and neurologists. Let's stop trying to pretend like something is not wrong. It is. The building is on fire, and we are calling the fire department, the police department, the paramedics, the Congress people in Congress, the state representatives. Don't gaslight us. Don't try to make it seem like it's one individual problem. Every single person, every single politician, we are calling out to say every branch of government, you are not going to get our votes and not address our children. I'm gonna step back.
Yeah, she firing at y'all. and that's what Miss Cogdell does, man. She I love you. Like, when you called me on the phone, you was like, P, you got to get here. And I'm like, Miss Cogdell, I can't do that early in the morning. I got to take my kids to school. You feel me? Like, and to know that you're on the bus and you're trying to help these children, and while you're helping these children, they're beefing with whoever's out there in the street, right?
But people don't even know what you're talking about. You may want to have some context, because I never told anybody that I did that. So you may want to put some context on it.
Miss Cogdell was on a bus going to Tobey Farms school, and she called me and she was like, listen, I need you to be at the bus stop because things are not going well for these children. I'm like, Miss Cogdell, I got to get my kids to school. It's no way. Is there anyone else we can call? Is there anyone else we can talk to? And did anybody show up that morning?
It was me and God. And I literally prayed.
And
I prayed
afterwards, right?
And you made sure that I was. Matter of fact, I was on a bus. Right. I didn't just get on a bus that day.
Right. You were on the bus.
I rode the bus to work every single day to make sure that buses was not being shot at, that my kids was making it home. Absolutely. So I'm not just talking to talk. I just did not disclose a lot of late nights calling you crying, please help me, help the kids, being at hearings, begging, so that I'm not begging anymore, P. I'm going after the people who make the decisions, P. I'm holding every branch of government accountable, P. But I'm just asking that the people in the Chester Upland School District stand with us. Don't count us out. Show up on Saturday. Tag a friend and tell a friend that Chester Upland is showing up. We are going to help our receiver. We are going to help our superintendent. We are demanding, not asking. Sometimes, Dag, on it, you got to demand certain things. We are demanding equitable education. And the film, you did a fantastic job. I just need to, that film is incredible. And P, I probably said like 3 lines in it. Right. But honestly, the message, people were not, Stephanie, you did a fantastic job. But we have to continue to tell this story by you. This film is going to be the catalyst for Chester Upland to get the services that they need. And while we're on CMP, not just because Nicole Cogdell is on it, share, tag a friend, and tell a friend that you need to hear this particular message. I'm going to step back and let Stephanie continue.
So one of the biggest things with the film that Miss Nicole Cogdell was one of the first people we interviewed, her and Miss Jean Arnold. That first day before I even knew fully what was going on in Chester, they were the ones that told me. And the difference between people like Miss Jean Arnold, Carol Kazim, Nicole Cogdell, Chris Barnes, all these people that we interview in the film, and necessarily someone that comes from the outside, is they see people in Chester and they see children in Chester as people and as humans, not just a dollar sign, not just a statistic.
Absolutely.
And that's also what kind of these programs are aiming to do, is like let's see them as full people, full humans, not just a student, not just this. There's stuff going on. Just like you were talking about your neighbor. You took time to figure out what's going on.
That's because my dad made sure I understood communication.
Exactly.
How important it is to communicate with other people, right? There aren't a lot of kids that understand that. Right.
I didn't understand that as an adult. I just healed a year. Let me tell you, I just healed a year ago because Miss Cogdell just had 2 different emotions. Either I was happy or mad as hell. I didn't know anything in the middle. But mindfulness helped me as well. Out. Because I just, you got to be tough. And see, Miss Cogdell's role, has pretty much always been bad cop as the advocate, holding people accountable. People really don't know that Miss Cogdell is a big old crybaby, but somebody, CP, you know it, because I can be safe in a space with you to cry and different things. But, when you are advocate, and it's like, I'm the one that the parents are calling to make sure that their children's needs are met. So a lot of times, my role is, I don't particularly like her. I don't feel her. She in everything, this, that, and the other. You're right. But I had to learn, sit back and heal and understand that middle ground. So, and a lot of times, even with the kids at Tobey Farms, as an adult, I didn't always make the right decisions, right? I had to go back to some of the students and say, you know what, you were right in that particular situation. Ms. Cogdell is sorry for addressing you like this or that. The young people will respect you. We have some great young people, but we talk at them.
Yep.
We do not talk, we're not doing the things that a lot of times that they're asking us to do. Believe it or not, at Tobey Farms, please, can you please, I'm doing a little commercial. Can you make sure that they get chocolate milk? They want chocolate milk, but we have a small portion of chocolate milk that we give out. But if they gonna drink the milk and they want the milk to be chocolate, then let's extend the olive branch just by having chocolate milk, right?
It's little things. Right. It's little things. Just see people as human. Just talk to them and talk with them and actually ask them what they need. And I think that's what we need to spend more time on than just going.
Oh, I know what they need. They be all right, here, take this. You gonna drink that white milk? I don't want white milk. I want chocolate milk.
And P, just like with this particular, it's what, 17 people on here, and I know that people watch the replay as well. Now, if it was a fight or if it was something negative, it would be shared and shared and shared and shared and shared.
But that's because that's what we do, right? We negative information sells. You feel me? The exploitation of someone doing something negative or hurting someone will sell before a person can push out positivity, because positivity isn't always pushed out, right? When I started this radio station, people said, "You gonna name it what? Cultivating mature positivity?" Like, yeah, because that's what I want to do. That's what I want to give to my community. Like, I don't want to give the negative. The media, mainstream media, gives the negative. Every time. In Chester today, 3 people were shot. I don't want to talk about that stuff. No, bro, why you not putting out the information? I'm not putting that stuff on my page. I don't want it on my page. I don't want it to exist for my people. I want us to work together. I want us to come together. I want us to unify. If we come together and we unify, there's nothing we can't do. Absolutely. The village moving as one, they can't stop all of us.
But we have to get out of the mindset, I don't like this person or I don't like that person. It's a documentary, right? And it was at the Latino Film Festival, right? And it's some other even educational institutions that's asking about this film. So listen, like, this is our platform. This is our time. We should be on go. Share, tag, tell, tag, divided attention. And listen, if we have to call a particular, branch of government that day to say equitable funding. Governor Wolf right now has some charter school reform in terms of accountability. Let's educate everybody. Let's let them know.
Or I need to control everything. I mean, that's what happens, right? People get power, and the power poisons their mind, and they want control over everything. I need to be in charge of this. I need to be in charge of that. Literally, man, you don't have to run everything. If you don't have any knowledge about the schools, let the person that has knowledge about the schools run the schools. Let the people that understand what you're doing for the children, let them run that part, right? There are different parts in the school. Let the person that likes to clean be the janitor. You feel me? The person that likes to teach children, let them teach. But you have mindfulness in the schools, and I think that is extremely important, right? Rondé Hollis Jefferson talks about that with his school that he wants to open up. And right now he's in schools. He tried to do it with Chester High School. It wouldn't with Chester Upland School District. It wouldn't work. So
and maybe now with this new superintendent,
he already done signed contracts with another school. So,
but you know what? But again, even if it is a contract in a separate entity, knowing the receiver, it's something with this receiver, right? But knowing a receiver, we can still come to some level of compromise or some level of possible partnership. I just say, listen, let's keep on going at it. Let's keep on trying. Let's keep on having the conversations. We may not be able to get every single thing that we want, but we're going to get something. Don't come September, P. I don't want to hear, the foolishness of simple things like shades on the first floor with Tobey Farms, with heating and cooling system. Listen, I know that it's been some talks, but we don't want it to continue to have to come from the bottom line. Hey, state, hey, superintendent or of education, don't talk at us. We want to see movement. We want to see it. Please don't tell me it's happening a week from now, 2 days from now. I want to see it.
So who's in charge of education? I think is it the federal government that runs education?
It's the state. It's the state
It's
because the federal government tries to pretend that we don't have a fundamental right in the Constitution to education. I've had this conversation a million times before.
So we break that down, right? So it's the state. The state is in charge of education,
right? And they are accountable to themselves. They have to hold their own selves accountable, which is the most ridiculous thing that I've ever heard.
So then they give power to the school district to.
They're the SEA. The state is the SEA, which is the state educational agency. The LEA is the local education agency. So the father pays the son or the mother pays the daughter to do what they're supposed to do. Right. So the bottom line is you're upset with your daughter for not doing X, Y, and Z for 20 years and you want to keep on disciplining your daughter, right? But ultimately it's your responsibility anyway. Right. It's their responsibility to make sure that it's heating and cooling.
And that's just the basic necessities. Yeah. Heating and cooling is the place. When it gets hot outside, why are you sending children home from school?
Exactly.
When it's cold outside, why are you sending children home from school, right? Then you're saying you don't have a nurturing place for the children to come in there and want to learn, right? When they come in there and there's no heat and it's cold, they don't want to learn. I don't want to learn anything in a cold building, and it's hot. I don't want to learn anything. So those are just the basics.
And don't wear your hoodies.
God forbid.
Don't wear, and it is a safety issue to a certain extent. But at the same time, we could actually implement the uniform policy if the conditions were right. And again, please, no gaslighting with, well, that's the receiver's fault. Or you've been knowing for years the condition of some of the buildings. With some of the best educated minds, you mean to tell me that you can't address it? It's gaslighting. I don't want to hear it. And we have to hold, because in certain school districts, it would have never happened, not one day, not 2 days, and we're not going to allow it to happen here.
I see school districts surrounding Chester, and I always said Chester is like a dog kennel, right? All around us we have white areas, and then to our backs is water. You feel me? Like, so where are we supposed to go? If we run out, we're in somebody else's area, we get pulled over, things aren't right, things happen to us, right? But it's like all of those school districts around, they're fixing up their buildings and buying new things. And it's like, why isn't Chester? Like, what has happened to that money? What has happened to those resources to the point where we can't have a heating and cooling, air conditioner and heat in the school, right? And it's not just one school; it's almost all of them,
right?
The same way. So it's like, what's going on here that this disconnect is happening to our kids, to our children?
And you spending all this money in litigation. How many lawyers have been in front of Judge Dozer? I would love to see how much money has been made literally just with this litigation alone, because it seemed like to me that a lot of lawyers are getting paid having all of these legal arguments.
And it's not just Chester, too. Because if it was just a Chester problem, it wouldn't also be happening in Philly. Wouldn't be also happening in Reading. Wouldn't be and what do all those districts have in common?
Black and brown people. So, but I'm like, okay, so the charter schools open up, right? So everybody is like, the funding for Chester High is given to the charter school, right?
And Deneen Mosley put a comment up just to that, P, not to cut you off. It says, when Chester Upland is sending a large portion of their funding to charter schools, it limits the ability to have funding for basic needs. Wow. There are so many levels to this. You have to address all of it, and she's telling the truth.
Yeah. So we have to address, so if we're dealing with the charter schools and we're saying that Chester is paying for the charter schools, why are the charter schools here? Because Chester was not educating their students. So the charter schools come in then. I don't know how charter schools come in, so someone have to explain to me how a charter. There are probably 3 or 4 charter schools out in other areas, but how are charter schools allowed to come into an area and then siphon the money out of a school?
They seek them out. They seek them out. They find these districts, right? They find districts like Chester that are struggling, and then come in with the shiny. Come in, and Miss Jean Arnold said that in the bidding here. We're not looking at the shiny stuff, right? They come in with the basketball courts at $1 million to build. They come in with the nice buildings and all that stuff. And it's easy to get that. And then they just slowly keep siphoning more and more money. And they go under the guise of this is school choice. And that's how they get things, by getting funding by private donors. That's how they get stuff from the school districts, from the Department of Ed, all these politicians, to be honest, that they buy out. And both sides.
Right.
So
and Deneen is correct. And I mean, if you're spending hypothetically $4,000 for special education for kids in a district, and it's $20,000, we spend $3 million a month in educational funding to, for charter education, which leaves limited resources for our receiver and our superintendent to be able to pay different bills. That's why we are saying that's the whole purpose of this particular documentary. It has to be educational equity. Whatever amount of money is earmarked for children, whether they are in the Chester Upland School District or in charter schools, it needs to be equitable so that our children's basic human needs can be met.
Yeah. And I see one of the comments saying it's intentional. And I always like to say, yeah, it's a broken system, but sometimes it's by design. They want to set certain groups to kind of fail in that respect. Right. If you keep taking money out and you're able to give money to your friend that has an education, and I use the term friend loosely, that has like an education charter management thing, and then it kills two birds with one stone, where you make the public schools look bad and the things that are funded, and you perpetuate this image of like, because it's public, it's bad. How many times we've been hearing that since the 80s? Public schools are bad. Public schools are
absolutely.
bad. Absolutely. If we've been hearing it since the 80s and
nothing's been fixed.
And nothing has been fixed, then that would tell you like that kind of reads on the same line as public schools being bad.
And
do you hear that about Radnor?
No, you don't hear it about.
So it's possible.
So it's possible that the black run schools are bad financially. Right, understanding what they should fix, what should be done. Then you come in and you say, all right, these charter schools are here, and this is for the children. If we're talking about for the children, then we have to look at, is it helping the children?
And Deneen said it again very eloquently. Charters are not bad, but it has to be caps. I agree with school choice, but not at a detriment to any school system.
Right.
Yeah. And in school choice, what it originally came from with charter organizations was to provide a place where a school system or a school can give for like different beliefs. So if, let's say, and I'm pulling an example out of
Muslim, Christian.
Exactly.
Right,
so
Jewish,
if there's like a religion and it's able to be still public, so the people they're targeting, the community, can get it. Or it could also be, in some cases, I've seen it implemented holistic, even for some special needs. If you know your student isn't doing well, if they're autistic and there's just not enough resources in a different way for your specific student, that's what the charter should be for.
So what's wrong with them doing that, right? Starting a school that is for the children with special needs, right?
It's being exploited now. And that's always what happens.
And you have to watch that because of the fact that in IDEA, it specifically states that we have to look at the least restrictive environment first. So, you just have to be a little bit careful. I just want it really clear that because I want to stay on topic and on issue. We're real clear about the fact that we are just seeking equity. Okay, it is parents' individual choice and their right to select whatever school they choose to send their children to. But we're just making it. We want it to be fair. We want it to be equitable, and like my advocate friend said, not at the detriment of the Chester Upland School District.
Not at the detriment to the Chester Upland School District, but you're asking for equity. So what are you asking for? The charter to give back $16,000 for the students?
No, we're asking for the legislators to sit at the table and to decide on what formula is going to, because I don't want to give up too much from the film, because the film definitely talks about the tax base and what equity can look like. But we just want a formula that is in place that is not going to take a lot of or prevent resources from coming in the Chester Upland School District. We want accountability across the line in terms of funding, in terms of accountability with testing, and accountability with test scores, accountability with being able to actually go in and hold the charter schools accountable to see how money is being spent and being earmarked. We want it to be just as we can write to know with the Chester Upland School District, just as the Auditor General goes in and does different types of reporting, it needs to be equitable across the board.
And also hold the charters just as accountable to educational standards, because that's also the big issue of all this,
Right.
is that charter schools are there's barely any oversight over what's going on because of the way they were designed to be, right? They were designed to be an alternative education system, not necessarily take over the education system, right? So why are we being so on top of public educators where they have to ask for approval for literally everything and not doing the same for the charters?
Well, if the charter takes over the school district, they're now in the school district. They'll be under the same.
Well,
they're for profit.
But you have to have a educational entity, like you have to have a school district, even if it's one school within the district.
Right.
So it has to fall underneath, a school system. Again, it's just ensuring that we should have never had a conversation where as though all of our schools could have possibly been taken over. Because if you're talking about choice, right? If you're talking,
now they're not elected officials like they should be,
right?
Too.
And one of the things that I would like to see too is for all charter schools, when you look at the Chester Upland School District, you see an agenda. You see public comment. You see the public showing up. You see what was voted on. You see where money, the expenditure reports. And I could be wrong, but I have not been able to find. I'm just going to say that I, Nicole Cogdell, have not been able to find that. So when you talk about transparency and equity, then we should be able to see that. We should be able to see that, X amount of money was spent with A, B, and C. Mm-hmm. Also, if students are misbehaving, that you don't just send them to the Chester Upland School District because you don't want them in your building anymore. If they have Weapons Act 26 violations or whatever, they should be going before their boards and not being told, hey, we won't send them before the boards if you just disenroll them and send them back to the district. No, equity, if we're responsible for Weapons Act 26, they should be responsible for Weapons Act 26. If we are responsible for, even with students who have IEPs, some parents are been put under the myth, we can't educate them, just send them back to, your neighboring school district. No, that is not true either. You are responsible to ensure that that child receives a free and an appropriate public education and not carpetbag.
Mm-hmm.
It's tricky. Right, I was in Chester Upland School District. I was only in there for 4 years. I went to Catholic school. I went to Chester High School, and it was hard, right? Because I came from a Catholic school. I wanted to go to Malvern Prep. You feel me? I wanted to continue with that education.
My son went there.
The way it was supposed to go, right? If my dad was here, that definitely would have happened, but it didn't. And because I went through that experience, I learned to, that mindfulness that he taught me when I was younger is just experience growth while you're going through your worst time. You feel me? Like be able to do that. And that's why I'm here. That's why I'm telling the kids, like, I know how you feel going to Chester High School. I know how you feel going to Stetzer. I know how you feel leaving your house and your mom not waking up and you got to wake yourself up and you got to make breakfast for your sister. You got to do this. And it's like, I'm here for you. You feel me? Let's talk. Let's get this out and understand that you whatever it is that you want to dream about, you can have it. Even if people aren't talking to you in that area and pushing you because they're not capable of giving you that. You feel me? They're not capable of telling you that you can be great. So, when we think about all of this stuff, it's like everybody's fighting, everybody's pushing, and everybody is saying something. But at the end of the day, it's about the children. Mm-hmm. So if it's about the children, like Ms. Cogdell said, we need to come together and understand that we just want equity.
That's all we want.
I don't want to shut your school down. I don't want to shut your school down. Your school can stay, but we want equity. So lawmakers, if you're available and you can hear us, we're asking for equity.
They're available. They're available when they want our vote. They're available when they want to talk at us. So they're available. I just have to rephrase that. Lawmakers, the residents, the people who love work and sometimes play in the Chester Upland School District, our children matter. We have a receiver and a superintendent that has sat at the table. They are doing some incredible work. Look at the marketing. Look at our football team where Lamonte Bell, people said that this is a basketball town. It would never happen. When you have the drive and you believe in our children and our residents, all things are possible. So lawmakers, please stop with the, I'm just going to say it, stop with the gaslighting.
Well, they can't
stop
help
with
themselves.
the, no, they can help that stuff.
Really
Stop,
can.
yeah, they can. Stop with the Republican and the Democrat foolishness, because they get exactly what they want accomplished when they want to get it accomplished.
Serve your voters, not your party. Serve, not the
Go ahead,
lobbyists.
Stephanie. You better say that
Oh,
again.
this is a
Say it. Go ahead,
soapbox
say
again.
it. No, do
serve
it.
the voters, not the party.
Oh, if you,
Stop listening to like what your party leadership says, and I will say it more for the Republican side, particularly, but Democrats do it too. That's why. We're in this
Democrats
position.
definitely, and I'm a
And I'm
long-time
tired-
Democrat.
And I'm a long-time Democrat, but I'm frustrated with this party and
I
have
am
been for a
too.
long time, because it's just they come and campaign here. They come. That's probably the only time we see them here, or see them in Philly, in actual neighborhoods in Philly, when it looks good for them. But do they actually do half the things they say?
And then, Stephanie, if I hear again, the Republicans don't want to work with us. First of all, do you even know what the community wants? Do you know what the community wants? Have you sat down with the A. Jean Arnolds, who so many Gate Millennium scholars put some hearts up and some love up for Miss Arnold? She made sure, tirelessly, she made sure that the children were getting exactly what they needed, that they met timelines. It's some great people that are doing some great work. And guess what? Even with the film, it was one parent that had a child or children in the Chester Upland School District, and that was Carol Kazim. So we're showing up. We're even showing up for some of the children who may not have parents that are able to show up. Yeah. We're here. We're asking. So legislators, I got to sit back and make sure I'm doing this right. Legislators, you come into the Chester Upland School District and the Chester community, and Chester Upland shows up, regardless to how many people are going out voting. And out of 34,000 people, 33 to 34,000 people, only 3,000 of us vote, which means that they're not going to take us serious either. Mm-hmm. It's time for us to double the vote. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tag a friend, every family member, any eligible person that can vote. Let's double that number and come out 6,000 strong, okay? Mm-hmm. And when we do that, they'll start paying attention. They'll definitely pay attention. It is time for us to no longer ask. Now, I'm not saying, be unseemly or disrespectful, but we have a right to demand that our children are going to school in safe environments. We have a right to ask for equitable funding. We have a right to ask for basic human needs. We have a right to say, sit down with our receiver and our superintendent. Hell, I'm tired of also hearing, well, if we give them the money, are they going to spend it right? Pay the damn vendors directly. You don't believe that they're going to pay the money right? Pay the vendors directly.
So if they're paying the vendors directly, then they're in charge of the money. Then I don't need you. I don't need to pay you $60,000 to $200,000 a year if I'm paying people directly.
No, I'm just saying but I'm saying those big ticket items. No, we need our receiver, and we definitely need our superintendent.
Paying them directly. Why do I need you here if
I understand, because what I'm trying to do is eliminate the gaslighting, the why we can't have certain things done.
The gaslighting will continue to go on, and we talked about this earlier today. Like, the people that should be in power are the people that didn't have power in the first place. The people that understand what it's like to not have the power are the people that should have the power now. You understand what I'm saying?
But they rather get people that are going to do what they want them to do sell out.
So we can get rid of them.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Get rid of them, right? We should not allow them to continue to gaslight and tell us, oh, this is a Republican, this is a Democrat. I don't care who you are. Right? I don't care what party you reside
That's it.
in. If you are capable of helping this city of Chester, then I will talk to you and we will have conversations. And I guarantee you, once you leave here, if you get elected, I'm going to be on your ass, bro.
That's it.
I'm be asking you questions, bro. I got your personal phone. Yo, what's up, man? What's up? Like, I need to come up there and talk to you. We need to have a conversation. What's this about? What you just signed? Why you not helping Chester? Oh, well, no. No, that's not.
And you know what, P? And we have to make sure that we look at the outfitters that's in the room, because often, I'll say, oh, we gave Chester X amount of money. But then when you look at the X amount of money and you pay salaries and then different marketing and so many other things, how much money or how many resources is actually going to the people?
Not enough.
So with this big, I gave a check for $200,000, but out of that $200,000, let's make this a mean.
10,000.
Let's not make this a medium. Let's bring the outfitters in the room, because we want to know how are the children, how much money is actually being provided and given to the students. That's what we want to
Start
see.
demanding receipts.
You're demanding receipts.
Yeah, because it's like we let them have this money and they throw out these big numbers for media and stuff, like we put $20 billion into our schools, but where? Did you put it for paying for like 20 cops to be in there and that will just stand in the hallway while something's happening?
I mean, and the cops, like I said, is like jail.
Yep.
Right?
I grew up in schools with cops my whole life. I didn't know that wasn't a thing
Right,
until I moved up north. In Miami, I always had cops in my school.
Right.
Always.
So now you're okay with that. If you see that every day, you go to school for 4 years, you see that every day. It's like, if I'm in a building, there's no cops in there, I don't feel safe. Then you commit a crime, you go to jail. It's like, it's just like high school. You feel me? You up there playing. I lived that for 10 years.
Yep.
When I went upstate, I said, I'm not doing this no more. I'm done. Like, what the hell was I thinking? That's not me. So for every kid that's out there, for every parent that's out there, take time to understand your children. Ask your children questions. Talk to your children. Understand their friends. I try to do that with my kids. I got 3. My oldest 3, I'm on their ass, bro. Who's this? Where's you from? Who your dad? If I think I know your dad, I'm going to call him. Yo, what's up, man? Your daughter hanging with my daughter, man. What's going on? You good? We could have had beef in high school, but I don't want my daughter to experience that with her friend.
That's right.
You feel me? So I build that relationship with the father, that if anything ever happens with my daughter, you call me, and then we can have our daughters talk to each other if they beefing, because we don't want it, because that's how it expands. It gets bigger. You feel me? In my kids' life. So, just understanding the things that we have to do in the community, getting this government. I was going to cuss. I'm sorry. I'm glad I paused. I'm getting the government together, coming out and voting and making sure that's right. And this equity for the school district is highly important. Ms. Cogdell, I'm here.
And wait a minute, I just have one other thing, because I got to go home, and she'll be calling Cogdell. Deneen, here's the real deal. Let funding per child for special education get cut, and watch some charters no longer be interested in educating children in Chester.
Absolutely.
So I'm for it, P.
They won't cut it. The funding won't get cut, because if you cut the funding, who gets the funding?
Well, she said a mouthful, and P, please, and I already know that you've probably done this. I would love to have the receiver and the superintendent come on to talk about some of the progress, to talk about, some of the need. I know that, preparing for school, they have a lot on their plate, but, we need to, again, come together as a community. So here is my last spill. Divided attention. When the children who need the most receive the least. It'll be on Saturday, June 25th at Chester High School. Is a free screening. At 1 p.m., refreshments are going to be served. At 2 p.m., the film is going to be played. And then you get to ask the cast and crew any type of questions. Big shout out again to Stephanie, my girl Carla Beaver, as well, for always being on the wheels of steel. We need a marketing team. You can use my picture. You can use Christy Barr's picture, Carol Kazim. You don't have to use any of ours. It's another one that just says education over profit, but definitely hashtag, let's get it out there, Chester. All of the alumni, please. I've seen the alumni show up and show out for a variety of different reasons. Please hashtag your class, hashtag don't count us out, Chester Upland. That's my Carol Kazim tagline. Hashtag divided attention. But now all eyes is on us. Thank you.
Let me add one thing. I want to shout out media members, right? The big thing with doing this film, I wanted to make sure this wasn't just another trauma film. Let's just dump the trauma and profiting off people's trauma.
Right.
If your news organizations come out to Chester every time a gun is shot, Y'all should come out for every time there's a protest,
You
every
better
time
go
the
eat.
community comes out. Come out for this film because it's almost impossible to get media members to come.
Stephanie,
to things.
who do you want to say so that we can have drop stations?
NBC, CBS, all of these local stations, they have no problem coming down for the Philly Union games. They don't have a problem talking about all this other random thing.
You want KYW too?
KYW, there we
That
go.
doesn't go with what they're pushing.
No,
Yeah, but-
because the goal is to overwhelm so people feel like they can't do
Right,
anything.
right.
If they start showing people can do something and start reporting
right.
these stories, like
And then all havoc breaks.
Wait,
we
wait,
saw this
but-
with the schools.
but
we didn't
wait-
get privatized because the community
Stephanie,
came out.
but I need to stay on this. So you want channel 3 and 6 and 10, WHYY. Hey, Chester, let's go ahead and start hashtagging, right? Let's tag all of the news mediums. Let's tag them, y'all. Delco Times, we talking to you. Delco Spirit, we're also talking to you.
Philadelphia Inquirer,
Philadelphia Inquirer, go ahead, talk heavy.
Philadelphia Magazine.
Go ahead.
There's so many.
No, you keep on talking heavy.
Yeah.
And the thing, and if you want, if you can, if we can put out some content, right? And we'll just tell people tag and share and tag and share, and we'll keep on tag and share and tag and share and tag and share. Because guess what? If we don't watch those stations, hello, somebody, it's going to mess with some algorithms.
And I'll even go national because
Ooh,
Washington
she
Post
talking.
and New York Times wrote pieces about Chester, what was going on with the schools, but we never saw follow-up. As far as they know, it's a done deal.
This is done deal.
They did not see the community come out in
wait a
droves
minute,
to that school meeting.
wait a minute. We have more. We have more from the audience. Malcolm Yates says the Metro. Susan Duncan says the Philadelphia Tribune. Absolutely. So what we'll do is, and did you send the press releases to everybody?
We've been
so
sending them.
You've been sending them?
Yeah.
Okay. Chester, alumni, family, friends.
Forbes did too. That's right.
Forbes did a story too. Thank you. Please tag. We going okay. We have Washington. Tag y'all. We have power. Enough people tag them, and it's like, oh my God, they just keep on and keep on and keep on. Yes, Fox 29. That's right. And if you have a relationship with any of these news stations, if you know anybody in the station, tag them and tell them all eyes on us.
And tag your legislators to call out these news stations too. We need to start saying, if you're going to tell our stories, you got to tell the full stories.
You got to tell the whole story.
You got to tell the whole story.
Let's not say. Let's name names. It's time to name names.
me.
So
Casey.
name names.
Why you up here at my radio station naming all these names?
But because you said that we have a right, that this is a freedom of speech. This don't have anything to do with CMP radio. You just happen to have me as a guest.
You should have went up to Philly camp. You're going to be doing all this.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
joking.
Oh, thank you. Can I name names now?
Go ahead.
Okay, so in terms of names, here as state representative, we have State Representative Brian Kirkland. As the senator, we have Senator Kane. As the congressperson, we have Mary Gay Scanlon. Okay,
It's an election year.
Did you say Toomey too? Come on, name names.
Toomey.
Name names.
Toomey, Casey, Governor Wolf.
Name
The
names.
mayors from other towns, so feel free to call out Mayor Kenny from Philadelphia, the mayor's here, the mayor's in Radnor. Start calling out everybody and saying, if you're going to come here and use this as a soapbox and then not do anything about it, don't just come here for campaign.
we're
Fetterman, who's running.
Okay,
People
name
that are running,
names.
Fetterman, Shapiro,
Right.
call them out.
Now listen, because I want to be equitable, and even though she's my little sister, but she's in the film, okay, and she has been advocating for equitable funding. But Carol Kazim too, we calling you out because as a candidate, we want to see some things done, Carol Kazim. And plus, she know I'm gonna call her every day if that's the case. Sorry, and you're gonna do it too, right, P? Nobody is off limits. Am I right?
Nobody is off
Yeah.
limits.
But hold your media accountable. If they come here to tell some trauma story, make sure they're telling the full story of how the community is.
all the way through.
Yeah, make sure they're telling the story about how the community comes together. So because otherwise, it's not going to happen. It's easy. The reason we're all mad and exhausted is because all day we hear is the bad things happening, right?
yes.
But we don't hear how anybody's doing anything to fix it.
I'm not even mad. I'm just tired as hell.
That too.
I'm just tired. I'm
I go
telling
between
you.
tired and angry. That's my two moods half the time.
Well, I'm getting better in terms of being Moni in the middle. And Moni in the middle is asking for and demanding. Look, P, Can you see this new Miss Cogdell? I have found my power in my voice. And I'm not playing with people.
But that's all I wanted you to do.
I know, P. But I tried to be politically correct.
I said you can't win in that area. That area is doomed to die off soon.
Right.
So you have to find your power.
That's it.
I said you have to understand that you can't get mad at everybody for not agreeing with you all the time.
Right.
And you have to take a step back. And
I did.
And you did. You feel me? And now look at you.
Right.
Look at where you're standing right now.
I feel good standing in my truth.
In life, in this situation, everywhere, right? It's your truth. And you're okay with it. Anybody that ain't.
Yeah. Listen, I really don't. I'm just asking people to tag people. Did you say That's what I'm talking about. So listen, we will be doing a campaign. Stephanie talking about, oh God, who are we? We'll be doing a campaign where, probably beginning tomorrow that, matter of fact, you can start doing it today. Get one of our posters and just tag some stations. Just tag them and just tag them and tag them and tag some of the politicians. Some have committed to being there on Saturday. I would hope that anybody who represents the Chester Upland School District, we're in a state of an emergency. So thank you, Pete, for having me.
You say we in a state like this is new. This ain't new. It's been going on since 1990.
Listen, I agree.
This is 32 years.
But we got to make sure they know we're not tired yet.
How many classes have graduated? How many people have come through?
Listen,
32 years?
I agree. I know the late Carolyn Masons, who was a great advocate here in the Chester Upland School District, the Anita Porters. Like, I'm telling you, I literally was mentored under them. And to be mentored by A. Jean Arnold, oof, she don't want to hear anything. Nikki, I don't want to hear anything but data and drill down different things and, speak articulately to ensure certain things are done. And then when you have Jean Arnold on the right, Deneen Mosley on the left, Carol Kazim coming straight at you, Karen E. Warren, Carla Beaver, Lean Mayfield, Anita Littleton, and then with my mother, there's some powerful women. We're not playing. We're not playing. We want what we need for our children.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Not taking any prisoners. And Ms. Mason, I remember she said something to me in 10th grade. She said, boy, when you find your dream and you get on it, you'll be unstoppable. I don't know how long it's going to take you. Find it, you're gonna be unstoppable. And I think about those words every day, like literally.
She was bad, and big shout out to Stacey Mandel, who showed up and did not any barriers that came her way. Stacey dealt with it. She continued to have good energy. She continued to advocate for our children. If it was a technology divide, it just did not matter. I said, there's Stacey. And sometimes we would say she just keep on showing up. So, big shout out to Stacey Mandel, as well as Nicole Mendez and Del Caro, the Delaware County the Delaware County ARC, who was definitely involved. Big shout outs to my team at Tobey Nation, Tobey Strong, Principal Popley and team that continue to show up. And, every single school in the Chester Upland School District, the principals, the staff, the crossing guards, the transportation, the food, the people who provide food, the custodial workers. Like, it is not a job too too small or too large. Anybody who has any interaction with our children and show up every day, big shout outs to you. My girl Subi, who Monica, she gonna say, did she say Subi? Monica Gosa, who even during COVID continued to show up to make sure that our babies ate. That whole team at the Chester Upland School District. And yeah, thank you.
Well, anything you want to say, Steph, before we roll up out of here?
Just hope to see y'all on Saturday.
And also my girl, Reverend Warren, who fought for years, the late Bernice Warren, who, did some amazing work. So are you excited about Saturday? I am excited. P, are you excited? Because you all up in the film.
Am I?
Naming names.
No, I'm not.
You was naming names. Oh, shit. You was naming names. That's how I came out of the box, because you naming names in the film.
I'm sorry.
No, it's cool. You told me to come out the box, and hell, I said, well, since you didn't already outed me.
It's
P, you gonna be there live?
I can try. I think I got something going on.
Oh, do you? Listen, I understand.
But I'll be there. Miss Cogdell, if you're asking me to be there, I'll be there.
And P, I just want to say thank you so much for all that you do. You know, you are providing this station for people to have a voice. Right. Some people, you might agree with some of the things that they're saying. Some things you may not agree, but everybody has that First Amendment right, and you ensure that, you know, equity is being done. And you always invite the opposing side to come here on CMP Radio.
I just want to hear what they have to say, literally. I don't have a problem with anybody saying what they have to say, right? It's the voice of the voiceless, the Project Engage, all of these things that and I have to do these things to stay open.
And one last person too, I'm sorry, Miss Blackwell, everybody calls her, you know what I mean, or Ladybug. It's just a lot of people, so please, because I name names, it does not mean or take away from anybody else. And you can always inbox me, Nicole Cogdell, and on Saturday, I'm not supposed to, but I need to practice following rules, but I'll still shout them out. So inbox me and I'll shout them out.
Yeah, we'll go live. I guess we'll be there at 12. I'll be there at 12. And,
okay, I'll be there because I'm gonna look cute on the red carpet.
I'll try to go live for the first hour.
Okay.
While you're serving refreshments and talking to everybody about what they hope to see and what do they hope for the city of Chester.
And you know what, P? I got to shout out my mom. Big shout out to my mom, Antoinette Smith, that's on the wheels of steel, helping to keep Miss Cogdell focused, taking Miss Cogdell to where she needs to be. And her school was Stetzer. She volunteered a lot in Stetzer to the point where one of the kids asked her if she was a slave because she was talking about slavery and did a lot when Miss Baldwin was there. So big shout outs to my mom.
The CMPRadio.net, man, it's your boy Uncle Pete, man. I want to thank my guests for stopping through here to talk about their movie, their documentary. Again, this Saturday, June 25th, from 1 p.m. is a reception, 2 p.m. is the screening, followed by Q&A afterward, right? Free film screening, divided attention when the children who need the most receive the least. Listen, man, this is a dope event. Make sure you are there. Make sure you're there so I can interview you and ask you what you're doing for the city of Chester moving forward. I want everybody to understand one thing, right? If we're not doing it for the children, we're not doing it for anybody. The children are our future. If you're not giving back to the children, you're not giving back to anybody. CMPRadio.net, man. I love y'all. Be safe. And, just do it for the kids, man. Peace.